All right. We're rolling.
We're rolling.
Jim Gilbert Jr. Welcome.
How you doing, Glenn?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm amazing. I'm doing well.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Doing well. He's doing well. That's good. So I have to say, you are one of the most interesting Facebook follows that there is.
That's all right. I've achieved something. I've achieved something.
Right? That is, you are. So we have a ton of different interests. First, you have a career that you love.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What?
Yeah. It's kind of unheard of, and I don't really. So I have to reflect on that when people tell me about their jobs and then admit that they don't like them necessarily, but they're just necessary. And then they say, "But you love what you do," and then it just kind of comes home. I'm like, "Yeah, I really do."
Yeah, it's very, very lucky. But and it's your company.
It is. I have two business partners, but yeah, I run it.
Yeah.
So we're a print shop really, and so I've been doing that for a long, long time. But we just have bigger printers, so the scale of what we do is just larger, but we print on all kinds of stuff. I mean,
well, you print, you put lots of stuff together.
Yeah,
right. You got pieces
right
you're putting together.
We have to
is it a
figure
3D
stuff
printer?
out. It's not a 3D printer.
Okay.
So it's just a big inkjet.
Yep.
All of them that we work with are just inkjets. So we're putting ink down on either a flimsy material or a rigid stock or something.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we do have to figure out how things need to be constructed for displays or, all kinds of sales tools, all kinds of stuff.
Right.
So yeah, we engineer stuff. And then for fun, we'll do stuff in the shop. And this year for Christmas, we built a full-size gingerbread house.
Yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun.
I don't have a picture of that, but it's pretty cool. What's the name of the print shop?
It's Max Vision.
Max Vision.
Yeah.
And you are a fine connoisseur of music.
I do appreciate the music, yes.
Yeah. You've gotten into vinyl at all?
So no, I haven't revisited that. I mean, that's how I cut my teeth as a young man. My parents had a pretty nice collection and wide-ranging interests. So, from the Four Freshmen, Simon and Garfunkel, Mamas and the Papas, Johnny Cash, so all that stuff, and I have vivid memories of just camping out, reading the liner notes, sitting right next to the speaker, just getting blasted and bombarded. So I grew up on all of that. Of course, my older sister had some influence about who I liked.
Yeah. When
New Wave came out in the early '80s.
So I had my parents. We'd go from Dolly Parton to James Brown to Grand Funk Railroad. The first record that I ever bought was "Welcome to My Nightmare" from Alice Cooper.
Oh wow!
And I've probably spent a couple $100 just buying cassette tapes and CDs and now vinyl. And then I destroyed my vinyl, set something on it, and just bought another one. So it's like,
right.
That's great memories of listening to that with my dad. But yeah, now I've gotten into it, and I got into it because my dad's a big jazz guy, and I've never been able to get into jazz. And I thought, see, what I like, here's what I like. Spotify, when we grew up, we had cassettes. Put a cassette in, we had 12 songs, maybe 10 songs. And so we had this constraint. We buy a cassette. If we didn't like it, we were going to listen to it because we paid money for it.
Right.
And that was our cassette for the week, our one or two. And a lot of cassettes, a lot of those records, I fell in love with. I may not have liked them in the beginning, but you
gave them a chance.
Give them a chance.
Because it's an investment.
And then I get it. And I'm like, what? Oh, man, this is really good.
Right.
Some of my favorite records are records that I didn't really get into in the beginning, right? Now Spotify and Apple Music comes along, and it is, you just blast it with music. Boom, don't like it. Boom, don't like it. Okay, I like this one. Let's throw this in my playlist. Boom, don't like it, don't like it, don't like it. Have a playlist of 150 songs each, right?
Right.
There's no constraint there.
Right.
So with the records, again, it's like what you said. Get the liner notes. I've invested a little bit too much money in vinyl these days, now that everyone's buying them. But I'm reading the liner notes, and I started falling in love with these different jazz musicians and starting to kind of get what they're doing. But then you get, this is, a drummer I love, I won't come up with any names. Oh, hey, this bass guy's on 5 different records, and I go pull those records out.
Right.
So I've been slowly piecing that, and then I had to go in and start filling in my backlog. So I've gone, now if I own a record, I won't listen to it anywhere else but on the record. So, like, I won't.
Well, and, all right, so do you appreciate the warmth, the sound of vinyl as opposed to the digital stream?
Man, I want to be cool.
Difference.
I want to be cool and say that I do.
Yeah.
I don't really.
Is it the tactile experience?
It's It's exactly what it is.
All right. Because those albums, I think they were made in a different way, because making the record, you have to think about what's going to fit on side A, what's going to fit on side B. So it's presentation too.
Yeah.
Whereas artists now, they can put out 1 or 2 songs or 4 songs and just upload them and they're done, because they're going to get 10 or 15 seconds for someone to grasp onto it, right?
Yeah.
So it is more of a commitment, I think. That's interesting.
So I think now you pull down, now you build your constraints in. So now I have a constraint, and I have these songs. I've bought 2 records. I'm going to listen to those 2 records until the next payday hits. And those are going to, I'm going to give them a chance and spin them. I've struggled with a couple of records recently and fallen in love with one. The other one, not so much, but the one, and it's that old thing again. It's like, oh, man, okay, now I'm getting into it. And then you're right, the presentation. One of the things great stories from bands were, how do we order this record? What song goes where, right? And now it's, now it's like, when am I going to release the next single on iTunes?
Right.
So,
yeah, in fact, I was just watching this classic album series on Amazon Prime. And so they featured one episode, Peter Gabriel's So album. I got to watch that.
Yeah.
Sorry. So they featured the So album. Went into the explanation, Daniel Lanois, the producer, all the musicians and everything involved. Peter couldn't put In Your Eyes where he wanted to, because it wouldn't fit on the side. Basically had to rearrange the order of the songs.
Right.
And just settled for something. And then finally, when it was a digital stream, he could order the songs in the way that he originally intended.
Oh, so it's a different order than the record.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's a cool story.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was fascinating. I love that behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I do too.
Because it's kind of what you could glean from the liner notes, right? When they had the lyrics and I loved reading the producer credits, the mixer credits, where it was recorded, all of that stuff. It was just fascinating.
There was a Run Devil Run. Was a Paul McCartney record that he released, and the liner notes. He had liner notes for every song. So he had Ringo came in, and they recorded a song in his living room, or different artists. He'd tell the story of the making of the song, how it was written, and I would read it and listen to the song, and it was like I appreciated it so much more. And whereas before, without knowing the background and the story, I may not get the song. Right. But knowing the story and you're hearing it and you're listening to this squeak, they're talking about this squeak they couldn't get rid of, but it's in there and you're hearing it and you're like, you get it. I can put myself in the room with them. Right. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Now you have to go to Wikipedia to get that information.
That's what I do with all the jazz records.
Well, yeah, because they've got the entire player list and which tracks they played on and who they called in off the street.
Hit the player, and then I've got another 20 records I want to go buy because he's on that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
Yeah.
Did you see Bohemian Rhapsody?
I have not. I've heard it's great.
See, I heard it was great.
And you saw it?
I was disappointed with it. I was.
So what wasn't satisfying?
There's a great story of Bohemian Rhapsody itself, of just getting it on the radio. And I really thought that would be a much bigger part of the movie.
Because it's not a radio song.
No. And, I mean, they showed one bit of them fighting with the record company on releasing it as a single. And that was a great scene. And then the next scene, he's at a DJ with a DJ, and the DJ plays the record one time. And then they're off. The next scene, they're on a tour. And it's like, wait a minute. That's such a great story of playing it and then getting deluged with wanting to hear it again. And he hit it so big on his station that everybody else had to play it. They didn't want to play it because it's like 3 songs.
Right.
So I thought they missed out. There was just so many gaps. But, oh God, I need to make that stop. There were so many gaps. But what they did, when they, when they ended it on, well, they didn't. Towards the end of the movie, it's the big, it's the big festival that they did where they just smoked it.
Live Aid, 85.
Live Aid, they killed it.
Yeah. 20-minute set that's probably one of the best live sets ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And and where the band was at a very vulnerable state at that point. They had Lost America with the video they did where they were dressed up as women.
Yeah, which
is hilarious British humor.
Right.
But America doesn't get that humor.
Right.
You know, I don't know why. We loved it with Monty Python.
We accept it from who we want to accept it from.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the Foo Fighters do that now.
And it's hilarious.
Yeah, exactly.
But David Grohl can't do wrong.
No, he can't.
He can't do any wrong.
No. And even beyond his fans, he can't do wrong. I mean, you know, the people that they're mocking and parodying, they're not going to get it anyway. But yeah, he can pretty much do whatever he wants.
So I think that was maybe the best part of the movie. I think they did show the downward spiral that he went through. So they focused on that. But I thought there were a few more stories that could be told. It jumped really quick. Like I had to think about, okay, where are we? Oh, we're like 3 records in already.
A lot of material to cover, though.
Yeah, it was a lot to cover.
2-hour runtime or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think Rami Malek. What's that guy's name? Remy.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
He was good.
And I've only seen clips. Yeah, it looks impressive.
His performance was fantastic.
And he sang too, didn't he?
No.
No, you can't do that.
No, he couldn't do that. There's very few people that could pull that off.
Right. I mean, he was one of a kind, really.
Yeah, he was something. So, okay, so we went to high school together.
Right.
So we
just last week, really.
Yeah, right. Not that long ago.
No. It feels so good to be out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, man.
Right.
You know what was funny for me is to realize, oh God, I've been out of high school for 4 years. Okay, well, that's the same amount I was in high school. Okay, wow.
Right.
And then it's 8 years. Yeah,
right.
Okay, this is getting weird.
And then you start getting the reunion notices.
Then you go to the 20-year reunion, and about 3 out of 10 friends look old already at 20 years out. They've changed so much, and then you get the other ones that look exactly the same.
Right.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, I haven't gone to any reunions. I'm kind of terrified of social situations like that.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I don't think you'd be really good at that.
I'd like to think that I could grow into that, but honestly, I'm a wallflower in a situation like that. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, we were talking before we started the podcast that I guess I went through 9th grade 3 times and left high school at the 3rd time. So I didn't graduate. I went to the Army, and then I came out of the Army and started a career. And, I've done fairly well for any measure, but especially for someone that didn't graduate the 9th grade. But so I'm not on any reunion list. And I got invited to the 20-year reunion. And then I guess, what are we at, the 30 year now? Yeah, we're at the 30.
Yeah.
I'm on Facebook, and all my buddies are at a reunion party, and I wasn't included.
Right.
And I went right back to that kid that watched all his friends graduate, and I was sitting in the stands, and it felt bad. At 49, I pitched a little bit of a fit. I unfriended a bunch of people.
I think there were others that missed that too. I mean, the notifications.
Yeah. I didn't see it.
I don't think they're targeted, and I don't know how the algorithm actually plays that out.
Yeah.
I saw some notifications in advance, and a couple people reached out and encouraged me to go, and I explained. Yeah, it's like boating. I've got friends with boats, and they invite me out on the lake, but I'm terrified of water too. So
I'm not a big boater.
No.
So yeah, I actually pitched a little fit and unfriended a bunch of people, and had what I thought was someone being really snarky at me, who's someone that I really cared about a lot, and I blocked them and unfriended them and pitched a bit of uncalled for fit, but it put me in a really bad place to watch everybody there, because that's my jam right there.
Right.
to get around my friends and just see everybody. And yeah, it hurt my feelings. It was, but from the pictures that I saw, the party I was not invited to, everybody looked great. And they were having a blast. So they, you know.
All right, well, we'll make a pact. So next time I'll develop the courage to go and
we'll go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'll wingman you.
Yeah. All right.
Very cool. So yeah, high school. It's a long time ago, and we're talking about being parents. Before we even get into that, what would our lives have been like if we had Facebook and Twitter?
Yeah, I don't know. I keep wondering about that. So let's backtrack maybe 75, 80 years to when our parents were growing up.
Yeah.
Right. And I keep thinking about the communities in which they lived and the circle of influence that they had was a few dozen people, a few hundred people, right? And as time advances and media expands, that circle of influence also expands. So now we're in a time where our children are influenced by anyone from anywhere around the world through devices that we've developed and put in their hands, and now we're going to blame them for using too much.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Right.
So it's hard to know exactly what to expect. It's kind of the genie out of the bottle. In many ways, it's great because we can get information in front of anyone around the world and expand the field of education into areas that it previously didn't penetrate. But I think it just has introduced some new problems for us. So I don't know. And we're there too, right? I mean, it's not just the kids. It's how do I manage my time on this device, or how do I manage my time on the internet? I've got to moderate that. So it's interesting. So in high school, would we have shared all the things that we were happy not to share then? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Would we have done more dumber things or fewer dumber things?
Some of my best memories are driving around BK Lounge.
Yes.
Right? And you drive through BK Lounge and no one would be there. Right? And then you drive through Shady Valley.
Shady Valley?
Yeah, nobody'd be there. Then we hit Garden Hills. Nobody'd be there. And then we'd all say, well, let's just stop at BK Lounge. And then someone else comes driving up. And the next thing you know, there's 40 people there.
Right.
And it was, man, that was fun. And we're one-on-one, and people would bring friends, and you'd meet new people, and you'd hang out, get in a little trouble. But guess what? Nobody else had a picture of it.
Right.
Nobody else had, something on the internet that was going to live there forever.
Right.
Or some embarrassing picture. So in a way, there's good and bad in all that. Maybe I would have done less stupid things because more people would have known that I was doing it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and so shaming and bullying, at that time, it just had a very limited audience. It was the few people around. We've all been in those schoolyard situations where you're, putting your finger in somebody else's chest and maybe it escalates or whatever. But it just stayed within, those few people. And of course it was repeated and expanded a little bit. But now it just has a tremendous audience. And that's bad for the people immediately involved. So I don't know that it's out of hand. It's controllable. I think it's just changing the way that we think about interacting and what's acceptable.
Yeah.
So
I think about it like this. When I hit about 12 or 13, my parents did not allow me to stay at the house, and my sister had sleepovers. They didn't allow me alone in a room with a girl for too long. If I went to a girlfriend's house, the door stayed open in her room, right? So why is it different with a computer and a phone, and where they
even have more freedom, right?
Allowed to isolate themselves on a phone to be able to do all the stuff that we used to, our parents protected us from doing. So it still needs to be a public thing. You need to be held accountable and that's where we fail as parents. I failed there early with my kids on giving them too much access way too early. And I had a much healthier children when they were didn't have unfettered access to the internet and everything else. They were happier, and they were in way less danger. So I think parents have to be parents. It's a babysitter's tool. You can't let a world full of strangers babysit your children.
Right.
So I think the standard rules of parenting applies. It's just it's easier to not recognize the threat.
Yeah.
That all this can bring you, and then the bullying. Oh, online bullying. Oh boy, it is rough.
It is. Yeah, I didn't mean to say that it wasn't a big deal.
No, that I didn't take that from that. But it is. Yeah. It is because now you have a worldwide audience of trolls that seem to. That's what they do.
Right. Yeah, for whatever reason, whatever their motivation, maybe because they're not feeling good about themselves, and it makes them feel better to pick on someone else or tear someone else down. Yeah, whatever the motivation there is, it's bad. But I guess what I mean is that it being out in the open gives us the opportunity to begin addressing it in a way that we didn't in the past.
Right.
In the past, it was this is just how kids are. It's just a rite of passage. This is what happens when you grow up. You get bullied. You bully, whatever. Yeah. And so now we can kind of develop, lines of acceptability more clearly, and define things for kids. But yeah, so it's interesting about the devices. I'm probably so I took some cues from my daughter early on. Before she got a phone, she had an iPad. Yeah. And so she would have access to that. And I remember one time very distinctly, she came in the evening and handed it to me and said, "I've had this for too long. Will you take it away from me?" She was playing a game or something. Yeah. She realized she had just fallen into this trap. And so that was a really good cue, right? Yeah. As a parent. But now it's probably a little bit different. She's older. She's in high school. The environment's different. All of her friends.
It's life or death now.
Yeah. And everyone. Yeah.
Dude, take this phone from me.
How did we live? How did we get along just having payphones? I mean, that was really the only way that we could, out on the road, get in touch with people. It was crazy. I mean, if people weren't where they said they were going to meet you, it was all over.
Someone asked me, "Hey, what did you do with? Did they have flu shots when you were a kid?" I was like, "No, they had payphones." I got all my immunization I needed from payphones.
Didn't think about that.
So it was, that's pretty funny. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we had to pre-plan everything. You get out of school. Hey, I'll meet you at Lenox Square at 5:00.
Yeah, and if you were late or you couldn't show up, then you would mess someone's day all up.
Right, and like you said, you just find a different group of friends to hang with.
Yeah.
And then hey, why'd you stand me up?
Yeah.
Later on, Yeah, it was wild. But I think we had, our attitude was kind of a communal thing.
Yep.
We would just, as a group, Friday nights we're at Shady Valley. That's how it is.
Yeah.
And so you expected to find people there.
And now our kids I don't think they have that.
No, it's different.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah. So the community is for better, for worse, it's more open, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. And it's so new. I have to keep reminding myself of that. So the first iPhone came out in 2007. There were smartphones before that, right? But it kind of popularized.
The Crackberry.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. But it really popularized and kind of drove a wedge into society. And here we are. We're just 12 years beyond that. So we're still writing the rules and figuring things out. And it's like anything else, any new technology. So automobiles came out in the late 1800s, and it wasn't until the 70s that we required seatbelts to be installed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So decades. Yeah. So it could be another 20 or 30 years before we really figure out, the right path.
Yeah.
And the way to coach people into this technology.
About Twitter came out 2006, 2007, 2008.
Like yeah, about the same time as the iPhone.
Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Right. Of course, there was MySpace.
Yeah. We don't speak of that, though.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We don't. I don't want my kids to ever know I had anything about MySpace.
Yeah,
MySpace was a revolution. I mean, so 2005 is the first time I'd heard of MySpace.
Well, it was originally for bands, right?
Yeah,
And,
well, yeah, pretty much. And that's how I knew
or
of
they
it.
utilized it.
Yeah,
most.
that's how I knew of it, was the bands. Yeah.
So
Zero Chance. Zero
Right.
Chance, my band that I managed. We got that on there. It was yeah. And then I remember seeing Facebook for the first time, and I thought someone was like, "Oh, Jim poked me." And I was like, "I don't like this.
Yeah.
I
Right.
don't like this at all. I don't want any part of this."
Exactly. Right.
And then I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden everybody had Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And then MySpace is still around. It's still
Is
there.
it really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. It's hard to imagine. But I guess, yeah, it just has that cult following.
Yeah.
Yeah. Limited usership.
Yeah.
But yeah, Facebook, and it's easy to understand. It's suddenly you can reconnect with people that you probably didn't fall out of favor with. You probably weren't, they weren't unfriendly to you, but you just drifted apart.
Yeah.
And now you can reconnect.
Yeah.
And family and friends. So, I mean, I had before Facebook set up, I bought a domain for our family and set up a web page where we could post recent pictures and stuff so that my parents can go on and see what's going on in our lives.
Yeah.
And, this is just so much easier, right? So it's just an extension
It is,
of that.
And
a group conversation, too.
so when I graduated elementary school,
Mm-hmm.
I remember the teacher saying, "Take a look to your left and take a look to your right. Most of these people you'll never see again after today."
Wow.
And now it's like, take a look to your left and take a look to your right, because they're going to be your social media family for the rest of your life.
Right.
You might not see them in person again ever,
Right.
but they are going to be there to remind you, for better or for worse.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that circle of influence.
Yeah.
Now it just doesn't change. It expands even more.
Yeah, it does. So now we have. So I'm in the dating world,
Mm-hmm.
and I went through a big breakup a year ago, and I'm still alive. How about that?
Hey, you survived.
I survived it. I made it through.
I'm glad you did.
Me too.
Yeah.
It was touch and go for a minute, so go through. But so there's two levels of breakups, though.
Okay.
All right. So you break up, but you're still friends on Facebook.
Oh.
The real
Right.
breakup doesn't happen until you block them on Facebook.
Got it.
And that's when it's real. Then it's like, wait, what? You blocked me on Facebook?
Right.
That's when it gets real. So it's like, well, it was a breakup, but we're still Facebook friends. Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then you do the block, and then it's the friends and the family. Like, what are we left with it? So there's so many rules now that you're still trying to define and figure out.
Right.
But it's not like a breakup. That's the final straw. Hopefully, you can break up and be friends.
Right.
But if there's jealous, like my whole thing with her was she had started dating and it kept popping up on my feed, so I had to block it. I could do the unfollow, but then I'd want to go look. So I had to do the block, not because she was a bad person, but because I just still not mature enough to watch someone start dating again. You know what I mean?
And it's interesting how the unfollow is different from the unfriend, right?
Yeah.
Because you unfollow, you're still tempted. So it's you against yourself.
Yeah.
Because you want to go and see what they're
Right.
up to, and even if you're strong in one moment, tomorrow you may not be.
Yeah.
But then you've just drop the gate when you do the unfriend.
Yeah. Or here was the other thing, that I had posted something totally not related to her or the breakup, and I get a text raking me over the coals about my last post, and I'm like, that it had absolutely nothing to do with you.
So she read something into it
Yeah.
that wasn't.
Yeah. So she reads something into it, and then you're like but it didn't have anything to do with you.
Right.
So we did that, and then we did that dance for a little bit, and then it was like I'd start posting and go, okay, is she gonna think this is about her? I was like, this is
You have to rewrite and edit.
this
and
is gone,
everything.
yeah, way
Right.
too. This is too complicated, man.
Exactly.
We're done. We're broken up. Boom, blocked on the Twitter. Then you got to remember all the places you followed each other,
Right.
Instagram and all that stuff, and then so yeah, it is. There's some rules, man.
Yep. It's getting more and more complicated.
Yeah. And now, me and the ex-wife are best buddies, and we're all over each other's Facebook. We didn't talk for 7 years. We spoke through text only, and we're talking about when you had to do the 3 letters at a time text.
Right.
Like, it wasn't the voice-to-text thing now. Like, it was very terse and very short.
Yeah.
And now we're best friends, and
Well, that's great.
oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Way better this way.
Yeah.
Like, a lot better.
Right.
But I'm really glad that when I went through my divorce 15 years ago, 2005, 14 years ago, 2006, 13 years ago, that there was no social media to speak of.
Right. Yeah, that would be tough.
I would have made a real ass of myself.
Yeah, it's a whole different layer of complexity when you add that in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, wouldn't want that.
Wouldn't want that. So, all right. So, speaking of social media, I was horrified at your news from yesterday that you and the daughter are no longer speaking.
We weren't for about 18 hours. Yeah, and then it was a milestone because we have a really good relationship, and she and I talk about a lot of different things. But I did something wrong. I'm pretty sure I know what it was. I was being a dad, and so I got the cold shoulder, and even our morning routine, which is say goodbye with a hug, as she heads off to school.
No, she didn't.
Put the arms out. She walks right around. Yeah. So, and that's when I was like, okay, that's how you're going to be. Yeah. And I think I even said that so that she could hear it. And she went off to school. I went off to work. And then later that evening, no mention of it. It was all better.
All good. Just good.
It was, hey, Daddy, listen to what I figured out how to play on the piano. All right, great. We'll talk again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was. Yeah.
That's man, being a parent is it's a trip, isn't it?
Well, it is because it was a head spin for me, right? I mean, I took it hard. I mean, it's a simple thing, but you wonder, you just start dissecting everything, and then you wonder how long it's going to go on, and you play out all these scenarios, and so with experience, I won't have to go through that. I'll just know, well, this is how this is going to play out.
Yeah.
But she's our only one, so.
You just gotta be patient.
Right.
You gotta work your way through it, and give them room to express themselves.
Right.
At the moment.
Right.
It's being especially girls. So you and I have girls. I only had girls.
Right.
That's it. And parenting girls is one of the most difficult things. See, all right. So the difference between boys and girls, I can sum it up in one sentence.
Okay.
Never in the history of time has a boy cried and not known exactly why.
That makes perfect sense.
Right? Mm-hmm. A girl, it's complex. I don't know why I'm crying.
Right.
I'm crying for something that happened 3 years ago, but I'm not sure about this. Especially when they hit the hormones hit.
Right.
And then it's like
13
on, man. Woo.
Yeah, and I've heard those words. I don't know. I don't know why. Yeah. Why are you crying? I don't know why.
I don't know.
Right.
And don't make the mistake I made with Summer.
What's that?
I said, would you like to get it all out? Man, that got ugly. It got ugly fast.
All right.
Because she took me up on it.
I might need to make a note of that.
She took me up. She was like, yeah, you know what, Dad, I would like to get it all out. And then it all came out.
Wow. The release room.
Woo, the release room. Yeah, that was original. That's scary. It's like, and there was no Google back then. I couldn't Google anything to get any comfort from WebMD that said, hey, that you have a teenage girl.
Right.
Just hang in there.
Right.
Let it roll.
Right. Well, and that's interesting too. So we have access as parents to lots of information, I mean, whether it's new age style, psychobabble, as people would like to refer to it, or what. And maybe you've got traditional values and traditional ways of raising kids, but then, decades ago, it was. Yeah, there were books available, but you typically just did what you were taught by your parents. Yeah. They either taught you by their actions how to be a parent or how not to be a parent.
How not to be, yeah.
Right. So I learned both, had good examples of both in my life.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I have parents that we were talking earlier that did very different things very well. Like when I screwed up really bad, my dad was great at empathizing, giving me his story and making me not feel like I'm the worst person in the world. And even better yet, that there's a path out of this mess that I've gotten myself into because he got out of it, so I can get out of it. My mom was the rock when, and just in general, she had a job and we had a house and we had things, So they offered very different things. And and there are things that, I learned not to do.
Right.
But I'm sure my kids will say the same thing about me when they have kids as well.
I'm sure. Yeah, and the parenting style too. I mean, I think from my father, I got lots of different forms of discipline. And I was just talking to a client about this. We were recounting our childhood and parent the style of our parents. The lessons I learned from my parents that had the most impact were probably the ones that were delivered in the least, I say, violent way, right? But least traumatic way,
right?
And they were typically just short conversations because you lose a kid after a certain amount of time. If you just go on and on, it becomes a drone. They block you out and they're thinking about something else. So delivered 30 seconds of wisdom and then let the kid go and digest that.
Yeah.
And it worked, It didn't always. I was still a stupid kid. So
it's part of.
Yeah, you repeat some mistakes over and over, but some lessons you just say, "Oh yeah, they're not as dumb as I make them out to be."
Right. Yeah, it is. I think back now, one of the worst parts of being a parent or being a child is you don't know the effect you're having on your parent. Like the not talking to you and not hugging you by.
Right.
Probably have no idea what an impact that has.
She may have hoped that it had. Yeah, but you're right. She had no idea it was a sledgehammer.
Yeah, but I think when you become a parent and you experience those, you go, "Oh man, like I owe my mom and dad an apology."
Exactly.
Like it is really tough.
Right.
So we had talked earlier. I went through a similar thing with Summer. She was 15 and we didn't talk for a while. And I lost a ton of weight. I couldn't sleep. I wasn't eating.
Right.
I didn't go anywhere. I mean, it was a rough time. It ended up we grew from that. And music. It brought music. It brought her into my music world, and that was my path out of that. So good comes of it.
So how cool is that you get to perform with your daughter?
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's got to be awesome.
It is really cool, and it's cool for a lot of different reasons. I think the coolest moment was I wrote a song for her called "Walk Don't Run." She was 7, I think. Maybe a little younger, 6, 7, somewhere in there. And I was trying to pay bills, and I was trying to figure out what bill to pay and what bill not to pay. And I think I had come to the terms with I was going to send a check out, knowing it was going to bounce, and just hoping that I could follow it up and make it right before they cut the power off.
Right.
And I'm going through that moment, and she's telling me she wants to be an adult. So when I'll be old enough to gross kiss boys? And I was like, never, for starters. But second thing is, I would right now switch places with you. You have no idea. Be able to spend the next 4 or 5 years of your life with not one worry. Your only worry is to not be bored. That's your only goal in life, is to not get bored. So I wrote this song called "Walk Don't Run," and it's just about
slow down.
You're gonna slow down and enjoy every step of this because it's gonna go and you're gonna miss it.
Right.
You're gonna wish you could go back to that. And so I wrote that 7 or so. So 8 years later, she's 15, and we're on stage and she's singing it with me.
Wow.
That was a moment.
Yeah.
That was a good moment.
Right.
But but the other thing is to watch her struggle with a song, with a performance, and it's tough because it's a peer situation. So you have a band there, you have players there you respect, they're your dad's friends, and some of them are very successful musicians, and you're not hitting your part, and you can crumble and shrink from the situation, or you can rise up to the challenge and conquer it. And I just watched her time and time again rise up to the challenge and conquer it.
Wow,
and it was cool. The practices are almost the best part of the whole thing. It was really cool to watch her do that and realize she's going to be all right in this life,
Right.
She's not going to shrink down from anything. She's going to be just fine. And it was just so cool to watch her go through that. So that, getting to experience that, and then getting to, there's a weird thing after you play music after the show. It's a high. I mean, it really is you're going through the band, you've had that moment on stage with everybody, and you're reliving the show and getting to do that with her and have that experience. It's really cool. I've written some songs with her.
So the rehearsal. So I imagine you have that sort of camaraderie, that communal effect playing in rehearsal, and that feels amazing. Mm-hmm. But on stage, when you've got the audience feedback, it just takes it through the roof to a whole completely different level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But one isn't necessarily better than the other.
Okay.
They're very different feelings.
Both rewarding.
Yeah, they're both. The practice is really rewarding, and the even the banter. Like we'll set up a group chat leading up to the show, and just the banter in the group chat and the excitement about the show, and then doing the practices. It really is just the whole experience to be able to go through that whole thing with her, and then you finish the show, and it's almost like the end of Christmas. It's like, okay, well, there's some loss there because we've had this anticipation,
right?
This whole time,
right?
And then it's gone.
And then you're just
yeah. I'll tell you what's funny. We were talking about Erica earlier. So with Erica, for those of you who don't know, had a child in high school and put her up for adoption, and then she found me on Facebook, and we've become very good friends, very close. She's an amazing, wonderful girl. But I had this identity of searching for her for 24 years. And the identity of, will I meet her, will I not meet her, when will I meet her, and this great anticipation. And then she found me and really lost a big part of my identity. Because a big part of my identity was this big event. Will it happen? Won't it happen? This searching, and it was such a weird...
And you couldn't not set expectations. You definitely had expectations about, Yeah.
And it turned out better than my wildest expectations.
Oh, that's fine.
Far better.
Right.
But it was such a weird loss of, like there was a part of me that I lost. It was like, I've been this guy that's been searching for his daughter all these years. And now I'm the guy that found her, and I know where she is. I know who she is, and she's amazing. But yeah, it was really weird. So a lot of times, that was a long way, circular way back around to a lot of times at the end of a show, it's like, if you don't have another one planned, it gets really weird, but it is. So I've actually been on stage with my dad on drums.
That's amazing.
And my mom and my daughter.
Oh my gosh.
Singing, and me all together, and that's cool too.
Yeah, that's got to be fantastic.
Yeah. So it gets interesting, and to be able to get through all that experience and nobody's feelings get hurt, and it's positive for everybody. That's a good one.
Right.
So I've played a lot of the songs I play. My dad wrote.
Okay.
And I have my own spin on them, my own take on them. Right. So it's really interesting to have my dad play drums for me at a show, and for me to tell him how to play his song that he wrote.
So
it gets weird.
Does he? I can't imagine. Yeah, that's got to be strange.
It is. It's really weird. We have our moments.
And for him, too, because he knows you're going to interpret it differently than perhaps he would have.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it does. It gets weird. It gets... But he's been very gracious about it. I actually just recorded 2 songs recently. I'm recording 4 more of his songs for a record I'm putting out. Finally, should have it done in April. Mm-hmm. And so it's really weird to send him his song. Say, here, I've re-recorded your song. I hope you like it.
Right.
And he'll tell me if he doesn't.
Well, that's good.
If it's not there, but
right.
But it's such a big responsibility to send my dad his song that I'm my take on it.
Exactly.
But it's also pretty cool, I've picked his pockets for songs since I started playing at 15 or 16. Pretty cool.
Yep.
Good stuff. So what's the best part of being a parent? Wow.
Why am I blindsided by that question? I think it's just watching this, I'm going to strip it down. Watching this creature that you were involved in making develop and have these interests. Sometimes they're aligned with yours, sometimes they're not. And even when they're not, that's kind of fascinating too. Mm-hmm. So it's the journey and being a part of that. It's wow. This is where words just completely fail.
Yeah, right. I think you've said a mouthful right there.
It's one of those feelings, and I don't know. So I didn't have a longing to be a parent. Mm-hmm. I was kind of a reluctant parent. I mean, Audrey was by no means an accident, but I never felt comfortable. I never felt like my wife and I were at the right place to have a child.
Yeah.
And she just said, you're never going to get to that point, so let's just have one. So we did. But that, that's really hard. I don't ask hard questions like that.
Well, I'll I've had some extreme highs and extreme lows being a parent with my kids. For me, it is I've gone through a lot of growth. I started this world as a very opinionated person, and also started as someone terrified of conflict. Mm-hmm. I had conflict with you in one way and one way only, and that was with anger. Well, actually, two ways: extreme anger, or I will shun you. I will shun you to the point it would make Amish people uncomfortable.
That's a level.
The Amish would be like, easy on the shunning.
Right.
And what's funny is that doesn't work with kids. And when Summer and I went through our time where we weren't speaking, I realized I totally don't have the skills to handle this situation because I can't shun her. Mm-hmm. I can't get angry at her. That didn't work.
Right.
So for me, it was, do I have the right stuff, and do I have the character and to rise to the challenge of bettering myself? Mm-hmm. And so a couple things I had to do was learn how to deal with conflict and learn how to actually be a patient parent. And it was therapy. I had to go to therapy on it to try to figure out how to do this. So I think that was a big part of it. I've always been extremely opinionated. I know how I feel about certain situations, right?
Right.
And but the ability to step back and let this person grow into their own person. Mm. And so don't have an outcomes-based, an outcome in mind, especially when it comes to opinions. Have a methodology in mind of how to get to that opinion, which was, with my kids, it was, when you have opinion, don't come to me with platitudes and don't come to me with something that's not very well thought out, because it's not going to work for us. And I will return the favor, and I will do the same thing. Do some research and look within yourself and figure out why you feel a certain way, and take some counter arguments and play devil's advocate and work your way through it. And you're going to save yourself a lot of embarrassing and a lot of situations where you hurt somebody and you don't mean to.
Right.
But also, you're going to know who you are. And I went through life a long time without knowing who I was. And my path to getting there was, I didn't know if I liked pizza. Like, I was told I did. I had very strong-willed parents. And what? Yep. So I had very strong-willed parents, but, so I had to go through that journey myself as a young adult. And so with the kids, it's just almost a daily of, am I doing this right? Who are they? Do they know who they are? I mean, obviously as a kid, you're learning so much. But I think just for me, it was being able to jump on that journey with them and help them be the person they wanted to be.
Right.
Without me telling them who that was and making them feel bad because they had different opinions in mind. And
right.
I got myself in a little trouble on Facebook a couple weeks ago with something I thought was very innocuous and not very controversial, and it ended up being extremely controversial, apparently. And I'm kind of forgetting the point I wanted to make, but for me it was. If you're open and willing to grow, and you're willing to follow a path, and you're willing to you're going to be a much happier person and a much more tolerant person. And so I think jumping in that journey with the kids and walking beside them and not trying to carry them to some destination I think they belong in.
Right.
That's been probably the most fulfilling part for me. I know that's kind of abstract, but
no. I think, and maybe if I can't vocalize what the best part of being a parent is, I know what it's done for me.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, marrying my wife didn't make me realize how difficult women have it in certain situations, but the birth of my daughter did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I just didn't consider it. My wife is, and she's going to nod along to all of this, right? So she's a very strong-willed person and very direct, and she'll say that because of that, I don't support her enough, and I think that's true. My daughter showed me that I've got to change that because I just didn't consider, because my wife can take care of herself, I didn't consider what the world's like to a vulnerable young girl until she came along. And then it's like, wow, all these different thought experiments and how's the world going to treat her? How is the world going to treat her differently as a girl than they would a boy? So all of those things. So.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting.
Yeah,
and it is. It's a big, scary world out there.
It's changed my stance on several different, key issues.
Yeah.
So, which I'm happy to do. You have to have that self-examination, and when you believe something. And I know you've got a rule about politics, and I'm not going to go there.
Well, we're gonna touch on it a little bit here in a second.
But when you believe something, you have to also understand that belief can't be binary. It can't be just 100% true or 100% false.
Right.
There's that gray area. And when you operate within that gray area, you leave room open for yourself being wrong.
Yeah.
And then constantly examining that.
So my best friend in the world is a guy by the name of John Summer.
Okay.
Interesting. You recognize that last name, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I named a daughter after him. And that's the kind of guy he is to me. I was going to have a son, and he was going to be John Paul Pridgeon after John Paul Summer.
Wow.
And it was a girl, and I was like, oh, I've lost my dream. And I tried to talk to the wife, and let's just name her John. We're going to name her John Paul anyway. We'll call her JP.
Right.
So we came up with, Summer. I was like, Summer's a great name. So it's actually Holly Summer, Pridgeon Summer.
Okay.
So my best friend, John Summer, is couldn't be, from day one, he liked Cowboys, I liked the Steelers. He liked disco, and I liked rock. He liked to dance, and I liked to shuffle. I mean,
right.
He was the world's greatest athlete and the world's greatest guy, and he was Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I was Danny DeVito. I was the byproduct.
Twins.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I was the byproduct of that. But politically, we couldn't be more on the opposite spectrums of the political. I have a lot of different opinions that don't necessarily fit into any one box, which is why I like to talk politics. Because I can swing really wildly back and forth. And so John and I, we have these great spirited discussions, but I love him. He's my brother. And I learn a lot from him. I've changed my opinions on some things. I don't think I've ever changed his on anything, but maybe I have. So it was really weird to me to experience people. My ex-girlfriend, I couldn't talk politics. She would throw me out of the house. She wouldn't talk to me for a week.
Wow.
And it would be ugly. And it's like, I didn't understand. I don't understand. Like today, I would still name Summer after John, despite it just isn't. There's political differences, and then there are relationships, and it's not going to affect my relationship.
Yeah,
in fact,
have
I'll
to be
learn.
able to talk about things.
Yeah,
right.
right? You have to be able to talk. And so I want to keep this strong center of, you're my brother, you're my sister, and let's talk about this and have a rational discussion. I tried to do that with the Covington case when the video came out, and I didn't see the story that was being told on the 2-hour video. And I just thought, oh, my God, I'm going to tell everybody about this.
Right.
Go watch this video. And I was immediately, without anyone watching the video, called a Nazi by someone I went to high school with, which blew me away. And this guy, Mike Froge, who I ain't going to talk about him, but call me a Trumpkin. How does watch a video about just because they had MAGA hats, I'm a Trumpkin? No, watch the video. They're 16-year-old kids.
Right.
Someone's saying put them in a school and burn it down with their parents in it. They're 16-year-old kids. Come on, you can't. MAGA hat or not MAGA hat. Let's step back and let's step in the shoes of when we were 16.
Exactly.
Listen, I wouldn't have acted as good as those kids acted, probably.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
But so it was so much vitriol, and I'm just not used to that. I'd like to be able to. My buddy Greg Lee and I, we talk. We'll talk politics sometimes. But it's a very rational discussion. We come from two very different places on some of it, to a lot of the same places on other parts of it. Like I am very religious, especially going through rehab and all that. There's a big foundation of higher power and all that. And it's benefited me. And I know on your end, it's quite the opposite. Right?
It is.
That doesn't mean I don't want to be your brother and talk to you.
Exactly.
I'm going to learn something from your side of it. So yeah, and so it's disappointing for me that we can't have a difference of opinion on a lot of these areas, and we can't learn from each other and grow with each other and respect the differences. It really does disappoint. So I say no politics because I don't think a lot of good's going to come from it.
It's difficult to change. So political philosophies are one of those things that people just stand behind, crossed arms, and so it's difficult to change minds, and I think that makes it difficult for people to discuss, because it's almost as if people see it as there's absolutely right and absolutely wrong, whereas musical taste is completely different. It's subjective, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If you don't like Hootie and the Blowfish, then we're absolutely going to be best pals, right? I just learned last night. Sidebar: Hootie and the Blowfish correct review is the 9th best-selling album of all time.
Of all time,
and I almost cried. Anyway, it is a very divisive subject, and there are a couple of more that are like that, and I think it's because it's seen so in such binary terms. Yeah, which, I think is a mistake.
So, you follow Joe Rogan and listen to Joe Rogan,
right?
Good bit.
Yeah,
I like the way his approach to it is. He'll talk to anybody, and he's well versed on a lot of it.
Right.
He learns a lot. He searches for answers, and that's what I'd like to be able to do. I like, Sam Harris. Do you know Sam Harris?
Absolutely. I'm a big fan.
I'm a huge fan of Sam Harris and have been for years. Atheist.
Right.
But his worldview is something I very much can get with and very much understand. Jordan Peterson, you ever heard of Jordan?
Yeah.
I went to see him when he was at the Tabernacle. I love Jordan Peterson. I love the fact that Dave Rubin, Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan, Sam Harris, Bert Weiss. You know who Bert Weiss is?
I'm not familiar.
He was the liberal professor that got drummed out of, at the school, a very liberal arts school.
Oh, up in Oregon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Where they drummed him out of there. And
right.
But he's very liberal. So I love this whole, they call themselves the intellectual dark web. Mm-hmm. And it's very different opinions, and they all talk the way through it. My daughter. One daughter loves him, and the other daughter hates him. Ben Shapiro.
Okay, right.
See, I have multiple kids. One is an Orthodox Jew, and the other one is not.
Right.
At all. And then I'm set kind of in the middle between everything, and it's like I couldn't. What am I going to do politically? Write one of those two off?
Right.
Come on, people.
Right.
We're better than that. But that's what I like about that, because they can have real honest discussion and learn from each other and come around on a lot of different issues. And that's what I would hope the people that I hang around with. That's why this whole Covington thing was such a shocker for me.
It was. It was. So I watched that entire video, that poorly shot, just handheld iPhone video, whatever. And Okay, let me back up very briefly. So, I got up Sunday morning, whatever it was, and started seeing in my news feed the narrative that was being spun by, call it the liberal media, whatever, all those outlets.
Oh, it was Fox News put it out.
The same
exact thing.
Okay.
And half of the conservatives condemned them. Like everybody condemned these kids. It was universal.
Yeah.
Across the board. And there was one outlet, one guy on Twitter that I saw that said, guys, watch the whole video.
Right.
And I was like, all right, let's watch the video. And I couldn't believe what I was watching.
Right. So I saw a couple of instances in my news feed. I think I clicked like, right? I saw your post. Your post linked to a story, and at the bottom of that story was the full video, which I watched in its entirety, and couldn't match up the narrative to this video.
Yeah,
the conclusion was obvious if you watched the entire video, that the kids were well behaved. They were being taunted and enticed into a fight, which they never engaged in.
No,
with this group of the Black Israelites.
Yeah.
And
vile people.
They were
to everyone there, to include the Indians.
Yes.
And why is that not news? They were vile to everybody.
Right. And so it seemed to me the kids, whether or not I agree with the apparel they were wearing, and I don't even think they're really old enough to understand the subtleties, right? They clearly weren't instigating anything. They clearly weren't disrespectful. They were far more respectful and well-behaved than I would have been in that situation. And so I said as much. But I framed it in my post around my disappointment at being first drawn in by just reading the clickbait headline.
Yeah.
And, this is consistent with what I know.
Yeah.
Dumbass conservatives. And then just having to completely do a 180. So it was a self-examination, but, I feel like we've always got to do that. And I appreciate you, kind of bringing that to light. I mean, you saw it as it was.
Yeah, because my first thing was, you kids surrounded this Indian? Are you kidding?
Right.
Why on earth would you do that?
Right.
And then, but what I do is I head over and I saw that clickbaity thing and I was like, all right, let's just go type into Twitter, Covington.
Yeah.
And then I got all these things. Go look at the video. It's not what had happened. I thought people were going to be kind of like you were. Like, oh, okay, let's watch this. Oh, wait a minute. Now this is, I didn't look at it from MAGA conservatives. I looked at it as 14 to 16-year-old kids.
Right.
And this Indian guy got in this kid's face and drummed in his face. And you see the kid blinking when he's hitting the drum. Mm-hmm. And the kid did way, way better than I would have ever done.
Yeah, and so how many different things can you read into a smirk like that?
What is that? Have you read 1984?
Oral?
Yeah.
I'm familiar, but I haven't read it.
I haven't read it either.
Yeah.
So someone was talking about, and I need to go read it, talking about face crimes. Mm. In 1984, there was a thing called face crimes, and it's what that kid did. And it's all stuff that's coming true. I got to read this book. That's going to be my next read. Yeah, he smirked. Well, there was how many selfies do you take before you get a good one?
Oh, about 9 different smirks.
Okay,
yeah.
let me take the worst one, and let me put it on and say, this is what he is and what he looks like.
Right.
This is him. This is the best pick. This is the best he can do. And
it's a snapshot in time.
It's a snapshot of what looked very devastating for this kid. It looked like a smirk.
Right.
But you see this, and you even see him calming one of his buddies down to stop talking, because the other Indian guy was saying, you don't belong here, go back to Europe. You're telling, he's a 16-year-old kid.
Right.
And you see one of the chaperones going, how old are you? Exactly. He's 16. You hear all this going back and forth. Yeah, I wouldn't have been as gracious as those. And you hear, when they're doing the tomahawk chop, you hear one of the kids go, what's happening? Because this kid's starting to figure out, okay, something's not right here.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
Like, they thought this guy was coming over as an ally in the beginning. And then they realized this guy's not an ally.
Right.
So, yeah.
And they're caught up in a moment just like any group of kids would be.
It's a brief moment in time.
Right.
Should we put them in the school and burn the school down with them in it?
Yeah, and there's so many factors. I mean, they're out of their element. They're on a field trip, and we know exactly. I mean, I can remember that feeling of being somewhere with your buddies on a field trip, and it's just this elevated sense of I don't even know how to describe it, but all of that comes into play. Yeah, it wasn't as it was spun, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, and now, well, hopefully we've all learned. But so I learned a valuable lesson. I was sick as a dog too. I was just getting sick. I had a fever.
Yeah.
And
you had the flu, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had it bad.
No fun.
So I did not get the flu shot this year.
I haven't either.
So now I got the flu. I thought I had the flu a couple times.
Michelle, you're right. I should go get it. Yeah, my wife's always right about that.
So I thought I had, I was like, God, I get the flu shot. I'm still getting sick. Like for 3 days, I'd be sick and think it's the end of the world.
Right.
I was sick for 2 straight weeks.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm going to be getting the flu shot. Get your flu shot, people. I even live streamed my flu shot one year. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I live streamed it, and I got a whole bunch of people who were pissed about it.
I can't watch needles. Yeah, I mean, it's so bad if I see blood that, I'll just get white as a sheet. I'll need to sit down.
Yeah.
It's so bad that my staff knows this. And so if somebody cuts themselves or something, I can see them skirting around me, right, to keep it from me. They'll share it amongst each other. Hey, look at this.
That's a good staff.
Oh, Jim, don't let Jim see.
You're glad I'm not on your staff.
They're looking out for
I'll
me.
be all up in your face.
Oh, man.
I just ticked my, since my heart attack, I'm on these blood thinners. And I just ticked my forehead. Blood was like all over my face.
Oh, my gosh.
I loved it. It's like I wanted everybody to see.
Yeah, you want to film a movie at that
Yeah, but
point.
I cut my ear one time. It took 4 hours for it to stop bleeding.
Holy God.
That was so cold.
Wow. Yeah, what do you put on your ear? You can't even fit a Band-Aid.
Well, I was doing the Stipec pencil, the Stipec thing to stop you from.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It did nothing. I was like, dude, I'm not meant for this. You need an ER.
Wow.
It wasn't even. It was a little. Yeah. So I'm just gonna have hairy ears. I'm not shaving the ears. I was like, oh, I should do this. Oh. Yeah.
It's a sign of maturity.
Right? You know what? Here's the deal. Okay. So when I was 39, I could see a straight hair from a mile away. I could look in the mirror and go, boom. And but 40, all of a sudden things got a little blurry.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, exactly.
And then 42, I got glasses. And 48, I got LASIK done because I couldn't see at all.
Right.
Now I got stereo LASIK. Like this one's far away and this one's in the ear. It's really weird.
But you adapt to that pretty quickly, though, right?
No.
No?
No.
Do you have vertigo or something?
I still haven't completely adapted to it.
Really?
Yeah. I would not have done it again.
Really?
Yeah. I would have just worn glasses and been but I can read. Reading is really good. It's the far away that gets me that's not so good.
Yeah, I'm nearsighted. So you're just at the zone where I start to lose focus.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So I normally wear glasses anytime I want to see, like when I'm driving.
Right.
But otherwise I'm fine.
Yeah, interesting stuff. So, yeah, I want a world where we all get along and we all appreciate our differences. Nazi is a word I don't want to lose its value. I don't want people to lose what that really means, and I think we've lost what it really means. And it was a horrific time, unlike anything unprecedented the world has seen in the last 500 years. A Nazi was a bad, bad thing, and we throw it around like it's candy. You're a Nazi.
Well, and racist too.
Yeah, racist too. Here's my thought on racist. There is an island for racists and race baiters, and if someone accuses someone of being racist, it's a battle to the death. And either you prove that they are a racist and they're on the island, or they're not a racist and then you're on the island. So one of you goes to the island, you're banished forever.
Right.
We got to stop this nonsense of racist. Everything is racist.
Right.
Because again, it loses its meaning.
Right.
The kids today are I feel like we had less racial problems as kids than our kids are having today. Is that true or not?
I don't think that's true. I think we were shielded from it more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I don't think we saw it, but I think those problems were there, and so and maybe that's part of the issue is the veil is up, and so it's exposed, and people don't want to see it. So,
see, I have a very different opinion on the Confederate flag.
okay,
I'm a advocate of it. I'm very much in favor of it, and let me tell you why.
okay,
Because if every racist could have a flag that alerted me that they were racist, I'm all for that. Hey, I'm a racist.
so it's it's a symbol.
It's a visible symbol that lets me know exactly where you stand and exactly who you are. But we're going to suppress it, so we don't know who anybody is. I don't know if he is or not. They're all toeing the line. I'm being tongue-in-cheek with it a little bit.
Right.
But it's like, at least you know who's who.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, I don't know if that makes you a racist. So I got a term. I'm working a video blog up with this term. I have a term. It's called a technical racist.
Okay.
Okay. So you have true racists that do a lot of harm, and then you have these technical pitfalls like singing along to a Drake song. I say the N-word. Technically, now I'm a racist. If that's on video, I'm done forever. My life is over. Technically, I have run afoul of a rule that makes me technically a racist. This Virginia governor, when he was in college, when we're all idiots, I have my problems. Virginia governor, I have my problems with him for whole different reasons. But he wore blackface in college. Technically, he's a racist. Now, his nickname was Coon Man, so maybe he is an actual racist.
Right.
But so I break a technical rule. Now, I'm a technical racist, but I'm not actually a racist. I haven't oppressed anybody. I don't carry a view that's negative towards anybody. I've been a positive member in my neighborhood. No one can come up with any instance that I've actually held back a minority. But technically, I broke a technical rule, so now I'm a technical racist. I have a real hard time with that one. We all make mistakes. Like the weatherman that got fired for saying Martin Luther Coon? Is it King, Martin Luther King?
So, yeah, whether it's a Freudian slip or...
Well, technically now he's a racist. He lost his job. His family was threatened. Is he, though? Is a slip of the tongue? I mean, is that a window into his character?
Right.
Or did he technically make a mistake?
Right. And it's hard to know intent. So, yeah. And I can see the media organization wanting to just CYA.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is now. And they doubled down. They came out against him 3 different ways. But here's a guy with kids and a life, and we've ruined it.
Right. Yeah. For me, it's, I think we need to make sure that we're being true to the terms. Right. So racist, by definition, means that you believe biologically that one race is superior to another. Right, the way that they believed in Thomas Jefferson's time, and Jefferson, in fact, did as well. He probably would not in this time.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, because he was. But people are often prejudiced or they're bigots, right? But when you conflate racism and bigotry, then you're right. You start diluting the meaning, and I think we have to split those apart. Because we all have natural biases and we all have prejudices, and we first have to recognize those to overcome them, right?
Yeah.
But me seeing someone and judging them in error because of their appearance is completely different than me thinking that my skin color makes me biologically superior to another.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Totally. All right, I'll do an exercise with you.
Okay.
Because there's a whole nother level. There's an experience factor. Okay? I'm going to throw 2 scenarios at you.
Okay.
And you don't have to answer. I'll answer for you. So the first scenario is drive-by shooting.
Okay.
Who did it?
The shooter.
Okay. Describe the shooter.
Okay. I know. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
It's going to be whatever recent...
Serial killer.
Exactly.
Describe the person.
Yep. No,
it's
you're right.
Middle-aged white man.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost every time, right?
So that's news story out of Southern California. It's all I hear about drive-by shootings, or maybe it's Southwest Atlanta or something. Yeah. Right.
I'm not saying white people have never done a drive-by shooting.
Sure.
I'm just saying it's much more rare. Give me 20 news stories, and you're probably not going to find one in that 20 news stories. Give me 20 serial killer stories, and you're probably not going to. There are one of the most prolific serial murders was a black guy from somewhere. I was watching the Netflix show about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so rare. I mean, you give me 20 serial killer stories, it's going to be white people.
Right.
So there's another thing of our experience shapes our initial reaction.
Mm-hmm.
But believing I'm superior because my skin color,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to lead me in a whole bunch of areas. And I think this news guy that said Martin Luther King,
Mm-hmm.
and then immediately corrected it. How many people would come out of the woodwork to say this is a terrible guy if he had actually was really a racist? And I think it would in this day and age you would see a deluge of people coming out against him, and you don't see any of that. So technically, he broke the rule and he's done for. His life's over. He'll never get a job on TV again. And I mean, is that a shame? I think it is.
Yeah, so if the consequence has to match the error, the slip up, the crime, as it were, then yeah, I think those are probably completely disjointed.
Yeah.
Not knowing any of the other facts on the surface, it seems like that's pretty harsh. But yeah, I almost would reserve judgment completely for the very same reason that the Covington story, kind of showed me that you can't take what you know just from the surface. You've got to dig a little deeper.
So I just want.
I mean, was he previously accused?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all. Great guy in the community. No, not at all. But see, that's the thing. Now we've backed it up to technically you broke a technical rule and you're done. Mm-hmm. You're over. And I just think that's a shame. And I think it's a us versus them. It's a gotcha. I gotcha. Mm-hmm. Now you're done.
Right.
And
so, this is similar to what you're talking about. People digging up old tweets.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And holding that against someone. Yeah. I say stupid things on Facebook. I mean, I say absurd things intentionally, right? And then I express opinions that may be different than those that I hold now, but I don't ever go back and delete anything. So if somebody digs up some dirt from things that I've said in the past, then I've left it there intentionally because I want to show evidence of an evolution, right? And I think that's you can't encourage that and then hold people responsible. This is going to come out wrong. People, yes, should absolutely be held responsible for what they say. If it's damaging or damning, but you have to give people room to make mistakes and grow, right?
Absolutely.
Because if you don't, then we're just stagnated.
So my daughter has watched me, a process that I've gone through over a 10-year period on gay marriage. 10 years ago, I was not for it. I was vehemently against it.
Right.
And some things happened, not just in that 10-year period. I met some amazing gay couples. And, when you get have a personal experience with someone, it's really hard to judge them based on anything else but their character. And,
right.
Religion-wise, and I'm a very religious. I hate the word religious.
I know.
I have a relationship with God directly.
Right.
And, but I didn't ever see Jesus say anything about gay people, and I could go into all these arguments, but my experience with gay couples and gay people, and my experience with the struggle, there was one thing that I saw. It was during the AIDS epidemic. Only family were allowed in these hospitals, only family members. So your partner for 20 years, who you're not legally allowed to marry,
right.
Thus legally they aren't your partner, isn't allowed in your hotel room, and you died alone. That's a crime of the heart.
Right.
There's no reason that should have ever happened.
Right.
That is a crime of the heart, and there's no verse in any Bible that tells you that's acceptable at all.
Right.
So I had to go through this opinion and this really paradigm shift on that, and it happened through a lot of different ways. It happened through talks with my daughter, happened through the continual friends of couples that I got to know that I loved and considered part of my family. And but it took me a while. It took me probably the last 5 years. I've been definitely I just say don't force someone to marry you that doesn't want to marry you. But I absolutely get married and be married. But don't judge me on 10 years ago because I was against it.
So you and I on that issue have exactly parallel paths. Yep, and about the same time frame. So my opinion on that was based purely on just biology. It was just reproduction. So a man and a woman can make a baby. It makes perfect sense. They're a couple, right? And then it stopped right there. And my wife for years, and again, through meeting people, more people who were gay and working with people who were gay, and my wife continually, debating me on this, she finally convinced me that my view was just very narrow.
Yeah.
And so that's one of those big issues that I came full circle on. And thankfully, she's so persistent. I'm getting quite a few points here.
Yeah. So. Mine was the disappointment in Summer's face when we had these conversations.
Well, that's strong too.
So disappointed in me, and it opened me up to, there are a lot of talking about technical. There are a lot of technical reasons to be for gay marriage because you're robbing people who are in committed relationships of a lot of legal things that they need access to as a couple that they're denied.
Right.
So there's a lot of reasons, but I'll tell you what, some of the best couples I know are gay couples who've been together for 20 years, 15 years. They deserve to get married if they want to get married.
And especially, I mean, for those who are against it, if monogamy is the way that you think relationships ought to be, don't make it restrictive, right? Make it more available then for people to be in a monogamous relationship.
So one argument I never bought in, I was with you on it's a genetic, it's man and woman. Can you have kids? It's a function of a family. But there's so many things that change it. But I never bought this stupid argument that was, well, then men will be wearing goats. And horses. And that was stupid. I never got into that. But so let's allow each other the room to grow. Let's allow each other the room to mature and become different people. And let's embrace that instead of going back to something that happened 10 years ago and ruining your life over it when you're not even the same person.
Exactly.
as you were then. Oh, and guess what? People do stupid things in high school. Can we stop going back to athletes' Twitter when they were freshmen in high school and holding them accountable for that?
Right.
And can we stop all of that, please?
Now, there are things that in the past people say or maybe have done that they should be held accountable for. There are extremes and
sure.
But when we are talking about opinions and things that are subjective, maturity takes care of some of that for some people, and for others it doesn't. But yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Evolution of the mind.
Evolution of the mind. Let's encourage it.
Yeah.
Let's don't stifle people and make them think, oh well, that's who I was then, and that's got to be who I am now.
Right.
Let's embrace it. If a house is on fire, even people that are racists, per se, there's a house fire and there's someone of a different race in that house. I would say, if you're physically able, 10 out of 10 people are going to run in there and try to save somebody.
Oh yeah.
They're not going to say, did they wear a MAGA hat last week?
Right.
No, you got to run and So
you see someone drowning, you don't ask them what their political affiliation is.
And you don't judge that. You jump in and you go after it.
Right.
We just all need to be a little bit kinder to each other and a little more accepting.
We do.
I hope that happens at some point.
We all face the same fate.
Yeah. And I hope someone can say, watch this video, and all you people that want to call people Nazis because you want that preconceived notion to be correct. Well, let's don't do that either. But you've also been blocked. So, You won't have that problem with me anymore.
Pre-blocked.
And Trumpkin. Someone called me a Trumpkin.
Wow.
What is that?
And that's a complete breakdown of dialogue. Right?
Oh, totally. You're done. Yeah.
Yeah. It's over. So what can one hope to accomplish by, just getting in the mud like that?
Yeah. What's the old saying? Troll me once. Shame on you.
Right.
Troll me twice. You're blocked, buddy.
That is an old saying as of, like 10 minutes
That's been around for yeah.
Seconds and seconds.
People don't say that. No. It's not how any of this works. So let's talk. So we talked about, all right, so we talked about music. You are a very, very astute photographer.
I appreciate that. I enjoy it. I enjoy it very much. It's a hobby I've cultivated for many years. And it's hard to hear, so art's funny, right? It's hard to hear criticism. It's hard to hear praise. And
right. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Because we're our own worst critic, right? So what I always intend to do is shoot something that I'm happy with. And if somebody else enjoys it, then fantastic. Because for years and years, it was just thousands and thousands of pictures. They were horrible.
Yeah.
Just horrible. I've got boxes of slides and photographs, and there may be 5 in there I would be happy with today. But, as you practice and as you grow, that ratio changes. And so, yeah, it's my Zen activity, right? It's the one thing that I can do and kind of let everything else fall away.
Yeah.
All the other responsibilities. I'm sure music's that way for you.
Yep.
So, yeah, totally enjoy it. And I'm always looking for new ways to explore it too. So
what's your setup? I'm actually gonna go
this way, I think. That gas station. And so that just kind of brought it home, being the very last photo. I said, well, Atlanta's my home, and I've lived here all my life. I think this is the perfect way to wrap up this project.
Yeah.
Atlanta.
So what's your setup?
So I shoot a Canon 60D. It's about a 10-year-old camera. I shoot with a couple of lenses. I've got the kit lens that came with the camera. It's an 18 135 zoom, just a consumer lens. And then the one that I shoot with almost all the time now is a 50 millimeter. And it's the nifty 50. It's just a cheap lens that takes some abuse, kind of an old technology lens.
Yeah.
But allows you to get just really shallow depth of field. You can just blur the heck out of the background. So I love going to that. I probably go, it's one of those things you find something you really like doing and you overdo it.
Yeah.
And I know I overdo that, but I don't care.
Well, I don't think it's your thing, man. I don't think you can overdo it.
So
it's like overdo playing guitar.
Right.
You can't overdo it.
Yeah, you got a signature style. You got a tone that people recognize. So
yeah, and you get that through your woodshed. So in music, we woodshed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And photography, you just got to take a bunch of pictures, but not be lazy with it because you're not going to get any better. Just try new things. So I always liked seeing you got into the moon shots.
Right.
And I liked watching you grow with that. That was pretty awesome.
So when I got it's funny how a lot of the things that I shoot through now were my daughter's, right? And I've just kind of taken them over because she doesn't use them. So she got a telescope for Christmas. And she was really interested at the time, and we both used it, and now I pretty much use it exclusively. So one of the first things I did was buy a camera adapter so I could hook up the DSLR to it and shoot through it. And it basically, because of the sensor size in that camera, becomes a 640 millimeter lens. So it's just this really long, sports lens, and really, really shallow depth of field. So with that camera, you get pretty decent close-ups of the moon to the point where you can see some detail and everything, and it's a lot of fun. And then just before the eclipse last year, the solar eclipse, I bought a solar filter so that I could safely shoot pictures of the sun, and then got for 3 hours sitting out in front of my shop. You got some
incredible pictures.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun too. So yeah, I love shooting through the telescope in different ways and just playing with that. And We'll probably experiment with different solar filters, different frequencies of light, so you can see some of the other features of the sun and stuff like that. But yeah, there are lots of other ways to shoot astrophotography that I'm really interested in learning. So I can shoot nebulas and all that kind of stuff.
So how did you learn? How did you learn? It was just trial and error, or how did you learn about all this?
A bit of trial and error, and a bit of just finding blogs.
Yeah.
Where people wrote their successes, YouTube videos. I mean, we live in an age where it's hard to be stupid.
Yeah, right?
If you want to know something, there's a way to find that information.
There's no reason to not cook the perfect pan steak because there's a million YouTube videos on how to do it. Yeah. Right. So that's God, it's how good is that?
Yeah, yeah. And you can learn a lot from Amazon reviews of particular products and so all kinds of stuff. But
you know what, I'm gonna make your life better if you haven't done this already.
All right.
When you get home, go on Amazon and look up sugar-free gummies and read the reviews.
Okay.
And you're welcome.
Okay. I love those. Those there are several products like that where the reviews are just absolutely, roll over on the floor.
So I did a what is it? A boot camp.
Sugar-free gummies.
I did a technology boot camp.
Okay.
And I bought sugar-free lemon drops. They were so good. And so I was chewing lemon drops to try to stay awake, right?
Right.
And then my stomach was dropping. I was like, oh, God, I might be getting sick. I ended up in the bathroom all night and just dying. And the next day, I finished the bag, and I was checking out of class. So I'm going to the store to get me more gummies, and the guy there was the one I'd bought them from, and he goes, please tell me that you did not eat the whole bag. I said, yeah. And he goes, you need to read the instructions. You're only supposed to eat 2 a day because it's a sugar alcohol that acts as a laxative if you get over a certain amount.
Oh, my gosh. That's perfect.
I was like...
So apparently everyone's fooled by this.
Yeah, everyone's fooled by this. So you get the gummies, and these people are talking... There's reviews of people that put them out for the family.
Yeah.
And you got 10 people that are crashing the bathroom and dying.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. Go read the reviews. The reviews are hilarious.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Some good writing. Some really good quality write-ups.
It's on my read list.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's good. So you're welcome to anyone who enjoys these reviews because they are glorious.
Wow. So yeah, you can't be a dummy.
No,
yeah, it's
hard.
easy to find information.
That's how my mom used to call and say, how do I do this? And I'm like, hold on. I'm on YouTube.
Right.
So she's like, how do you know how to do all this? I'm like, I'm on YouTube. So now she hits the YouTubes.
Exactly. The YouTubes.
She hits the YouTubes.
Yeah, on the interwebs.
Yeah, on the interwebs.
Yeah. The information superhighway.
I'll tell you what, I'll post some stuff on Facebook, and I'll be like, I know I've messed up. I'll hit send, and about 3 seconds later, son? What is this? What is this you've posted?
Wow.
One time when I was still going through my addiction problems, I popped an Ambien and started Facebooking.
So isn't that one of the warnings on the label?
It should, yeah.
Yeah, don't operate motor vehicles and don't
Facebook and all that stuff.
Right.
And I was awoken very abruptly by my mother at 8 a.m. on a Saturday. What is wrong with you? Get on Facebook and delete everything. It was rough.
It's like drunk texting, right?
It was rough.
Yeah. Wow.
It is. All right. So your recommendation to anyone that wants to get into photography, really anything, but on photography, email me a couple of blogs, and I'll include them in links on this video.
Sure.
And to all of our buddies that are friends of Jim's, you guys already know, but just go through his photos and check it out, and you'll never see the moon the same again. It's pretty cool. I love talking about stuff we do with our kids. I know your daughter's very involved with your photography shenanigans.
Yeah, she's been, as many kids are these days, she's grown up in front of a camera.
Yeah.
And so she's not shy about it, which is great. So yeah. At times she's shown interest in learning how to shoot, and other times she kind of draws back from that. So I'm there if she wants to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of how you have to do it.
Right. Yeah, you You can offer guidance, but you can't steer.
Have you had the talk with your daughter yet about digital cameras and pictures and guys sneaking pictures of her?
How they live forever.
How they live forever and all that stuff?
I haven't. But yeah.
So I had that talk with my daughter.
Okay.
With all of them now. But I had it with Summer. And she said, well, what did you guys do when you were in school? And I said, let me tell you the scenario of us sneaking pics when we were in school. First off, the camera was about this big.
Right. Right.
And the second thing was when you pulled the trigger, it was an explosion that happened and the film came out and then I had to shake it.
Exactly.
And then I said, look, if you've missed all of that, then that's pretty much your problem. That's not mine. But no, there was a lot of consent going on if we got any pictures back then. But my whole thing is, if you're making out with the guy in his room, he's probably filming you. And I would much rather you just be very careful. And it really changes the way, like, kids are gonna experiment. I'd rather them not do it in a guy's room.
Right.
It really, you gotta make sure you can control the environment, all aspects of it.
Right.
Don't walk into someone's den of debauchery.
Right. Yeah, excellent point.
It's a scary world. Cool, right. Man. So you were a little worried. How was it?
Oh, this was fantastic.
Yeah, fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, you make it easy. I mean, you do. Yeah, you have a great conversational style, and
thank you.
Yeah, and walking in and seeing you after all these years, it was just like we didn't really miss a beat.
Yeah, right.
So
that's fun, man.
Yep.
It's cool to be. Man, see, there's people we talk about social media, but be able to keep in touch and people that we would have never probably crossed paths again if it wasn't for Facebook. Right. So that's great, and yeah, you're a good dude. So
thanks, man.
I appreciate we don't agree on everything.
No,
and I like that part.
Absolutely,
but we certainly don't hate each other because we don't agree on everything.
No, not
that's
by
very
any means.
Important.
It is.
Give me one thing on your bucket list you're ready to do.
Oh, gosh. So I've been reading about mountain climbing.
Oh.
But I don't even know if this is even feasible. So I don't know. Maybe one of the big mountains.
Yeah?
Maybe. I don't know.
So I tell you what, I got a buddy, Jim Hodgson. He was on this podcast.
Yeah, I saw his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He, I'm going to give you a book that he wrote about, I've got out there. I keep buying his books, keep giving them away. But, yeah, he's a big mountain climber. He would be a good person to talk to about it. He's
I remember
done a lot of it. Yeah,
he climbed
Kilimanjaro. And Kilimanjaro and Akakonga.
Right.
I'm saying that right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
And now, speaking of Audible, his Audible books are hilarious, too.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, and so I guess he reads those?
No, he doesn't read the Audible books.
Okay.
But I think he did read the How to Mount Akakonga. I think he did read that one.
Yeah. I keep wanting to, give you a Heimlich when you say that. But yeah.
Talk about it. Yeah. Well, a one-trick horse there. Yeah. So I'll tell you what's on my my bucket list is definitely not climbing mountains. I would like to go to the opera. That's a pretty easy one.
It is.
I've never gone.
Yeah, you should do that.
I want to go. I need to go with someone who knows something about it that can true me in. But I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
I can't say I've done one live either or seen one live either.
I took the jazz plunge.
Right.
And now I'm like, you know what? I want to go to an opera. You know what? I got a buddy, Shannon Pengelly, great guitar player. Actually, he went to North Fulton. Do you remember Shannon?
No.
Yeah, Pengelly. Shannon Pengelly went to Northside. No, that's right. He went to Northside.
Okay.
He didn't go to North Fulton.
Okay.
But I've played with him for years, but he's a big opera nut. So I'm going to have to talk to him and see about what I can do about this opera.
Show you the ropes.
Opera thing.
Right.
So that's it. Cool, brother. Well, let's do it again sometime.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
All right, man. Peace out.
All right. You too. Oh, I just pointed at the camera.
Did you?
Wow.
Oh, man, we'll cut that out.
All right. I mean, it's, if it's cheesy.
It happened.
I did it again.
We're keeping it in now. I can only cut one or the other.
Exactly right. A certain number of edits.
All right.
Yeah.